Can a Christian eat shrimp? In Christianity, dietary laws have been a topic of discussion and interpretation for centuries. One common question that arises is whether Christians can eat shrimp, considering the biblical guidelines on dietary restrictions. Let's delve into the beliefs, perspectives, and biblical teachings surrounding the consumption of shrimp in Christianity. Key takeaways: the Bible categorizes shrimp as unclean according to Leviticus 11, leading to debates on its consumption among Christians. Interpretations of dietary laws vary, with some Christians believing that these regulations were abolished with the arrival of the New Testament. Jesus' teachings emphasize the importance of inner purity rather than what goes into a person's mouth, adding to the differing perspectives on shrimp consumption. The early church, as seen in the book of Acts, determined that Gentile Christians were not bound by Jewish dietary laws. While dietary choices are not central to salvation, Christians may follow personal convictions or specific guidelines as a way of honoring God. The dietary restrictions were intended to set the Israelites apart from other cultures and religions, promoting their purity and obedience to God's will. The laws can be found in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14, and they outline what is permissible and what is forbidden in terms of food consumption. To better understand the Old Testament dietary laws, let's explore some key points. Kosher diet. The kosher diet follows specific rules and guidelines concerning the types of animals that can be eaten. According to Leviticus 11, land animals must have split hooves and chew the cud to be considered clean, while sea creatures must have fins and scales. Shellfish, including shrimp, do not meet these criteria and are therefore categorized as unclean. Can a Christian eat shrimp? Significance of dietary laws. The dietary laws served multiple purposes for the Israelites. Firstly, they were a way to maintain their religious and cultural identity. By abstaining from certain types of food, they distinguished themselves from other nations and demonstrated their devotion to God. Secondly, the dietary laws may have had practical health benefits. Many of the forbidden animals were scavengers or prone to carrying diseases, making their consumption potentially harmful for physical well-being. Change in dietary practices. It is important to note that the Old Testament dietary laws are not followed by all Christians today. In the New Testament, Jesus' teachings and the apostolic decree in Acts 15 have led to a shift in understanding and practices regarding dietary restrictions. While the Old Testament laws still hold historical and symbolic significance, they are not seen as binding for Christians, who often focus on inner purity and obedience to God's will rather than strict dietary guidelines. Shrimp and Christianity beliefs. To visualize the different categories of animals in the Old Testament dietary laws, here is a table. Clean animals, unclean animals, land animals with split hooves and that chew the cud, for example, cows, sheep; land animals without split hooves or that do not chew the cud, for example, pigs, rabbits; fish with fins and scales, for example, salmon, tuna; fish without fins and scales, for example, shrimp, lobster; birds not listed as unclean, for example, chicken, turkey; birds specifically labeled as unclean, for example, vultures, owls. Understanding the Old Testament dietary laws provides valuable insight into the history and religious practices of the Israelites. While Christians today may have different interpretations and applications of these laws, they remain an important part of biblical teachings and hold symbolic meaning within the faith. Jesus' teachings on dietary restrictions. Jesus' teachings in the New Testament provide valuable insights into the topic of dietary restrictions. In various passages, including Matthew 15, Mark 7, and Luke 11, Jesus challenges the traditional views on what defiles a person. He emphasizes that it is not what enters a person's mouth that defiles them, but rather what comes out of their heart. And he said to them, "Then are you also without understanding? Do you not see that whatever goes into a person from outside cannot defile him, since it enters not his heart but his stomach, and is expelled?" Thus he declared all foods clean. This statement by Jesus has led to varying interpretations among theologians. Father, grandfather, minister, missionary, deacon, elder, author, welcome to our family. View all posts.